So, one of our most frequent requests recently has been rehab guidelines for Achilles tendon ruptures. And in this video, we're going to cover all the key things that you need to know. So if you're ready, let's dive in. Hey guys, Khalid here. Welcome back to Clinical Physio. So we know that for physiotherapists, Achilles tendon rupture rehab can be daunting, especially when your athlete has high expectations of going back to their sport. So let's dive into some of the key things you need to think about, starting with some research. So first of all, how do we manage these patients? With surgery or without surgery? Well, when it comes to the general population, the SMART trial covered by Hutchison et al. Looked at this exact thing, and they found that immobilization in a vacobed boot, i.e. not having surgery, had better cost savings and better re-rupture rates compared to when individuals had surgery. So this has led to many different organizations adopting non-surgical measures using a vacobed boot for their Achilles tendon rupture patients. By contrast, we have a meta-analysis from the BMJ in 2019 from Ochon et al. In their study, they found that actually it was surgical patients who had better re-rupture rates than non-surgical patients. However, they also found that surgery presented higher complications. They found that there was a 7.8% chance of patients experiencing a sural nerve injury and a 5.8% chance of patients experiencing an infection related to their surgery. However, I suppose this also points out that for those who have those percentage rates, there's 90+% of patients who don't have any complications with the surgery as well. So plenty to bear in mind for your patients. But of course, as with so many injuries, it comes down to individual patients. For example, in the sporting population, the vast majority of patients will go through an Achilles tendon reconstruction surgery. However, in the non-sporting demographic, perhaps those with lower expectations, you might find that they don't have surgery more commonly. Also, what are their comorbidities? That will have an effect on whether or not they can have surgery. So ultimately, it's down to patient choice, as is the form of rehab as well. So whilst we'll give you some brilliant ideas in this video, make sure to follow the protocol provided by your surgeon for the patient you're rehabbing. And with that in mind, in this particular video, we've decided to focus on non-operative management rehab. So let's start with immobilization. What happens to the patient when they get injured? Well, they should present to A&E, and in A&E, the patient will be provided with an Aquinas cast. This effectively means a cast plaster of Paris which positions the foot in approximately 30 degrees of plantar flexion, an optimum position for the tendon to start its healing process. The patient will 99% of the time be advised to do non-weight bearing and will be provided with crutches in order to do so. They should, however, make sure that they keep wiggling their toes as much as possible to prevent any risk of DVTs, and also they should elevate their leg to try and improve swelling and also to get blood moving up and down the leg. So from there, depending on how quickly your patient can get an appointment in fracture clinic, perhaps between a few days and 2 weeks, they'll be provided with a vacoped boot. This is a brilliant piece of equipment because it allows the patient to start weight bearing, but also immobilizes their foot within different ranges, depending on how far down the line it's been since their injury. So from approximately week 2 to week 5, your patient will be provided with this vacoped boot, which allows for adjustable movement within the boot. So between weeks 2 and 5, the patient's boot will be locked at 30 degrees of plantar flexion, similar to their Aquinas cast, and they'll be provided with a wedge sole that goes in the back of the boot to make sure the foot remains in plantar flexion. They'll also be able to start weight bearing as tolerated during this time. Between weeks 5 and 7, that range of movement can be adjusted to between 15 to 30 degrees of plantar flexion, allowing a little bit of stretch within the Achilles tendon, but once again with the wedge sole in place and the patient still weight bearing as tolerated. Between weeks 7 and 9, the boot range of movement gets adjusted further, where the patient can move between a neutral foot position and 30 degrees plantar flexion, once again increasing the amount of dorsiflexion within the Achilles tendon. And it might be that at this stage the wedge sole is removed and replaced with a flat sole to once again allow the Achilles to get used to a neutral foot position. Once again, we'll continue weight bearing as tolerated. At week 9, it might be that your patient is allowed to wean into using comfortable shoes indoors, but continuing to use the Vacoped outdoors. And then between weeks 10 and 12, as directed by the orthopedic consultant, it might be that your patient is allowed to now remove the Vacoped boot. They might be able to start fully weight bearing with no major restrictions in their weight bearing and start physiotherapy to continue on their journey. So hopefully that gives you a run through about immobilization. Next, rehab. What kind of exercises do we need to consider during each of those phases? Well, first of all, between week 2 and week 5, the patient will not be using their foot, but it still allows us to get their quadriceps, their hamstrings, and their hip muscles working really, really well. So for example, we might give them exercises such as inner range quads and a straight leg raise movement for the quadriceps to make sure that the knee extensors stay nice and strong. We may also give something like prone knee bends for the hamstrings to keep knee flexion strong. And we'll support the hip muscles by perhaps doing something like standing hip extension or standing or side-lying hip abduction to make sure that the glutes stay strong. With all of these exercises, we could consider between 10 to 12 repetitions 2 to 3 times a day. So next, between weeks 5 and 7, remember this is the point where in the Vacoped boot, your patient can be allowed to increase their range of movement to between 15 and 30 degrees of plantar flexion. So with their boot still on, they can start doing dorsiflexion and plantar flexion between those two simple ranges, and it just allows for movement of the foot within the boot to start the process of rehabilitation. So therefore, you might get your patient to do about 30 to 60 seconds of those dorsiflexion and plantar flexion movements within the boot, and you might find that it can be more comfortable for your patient to do this prone with their ankle off the edge of the bed to make it easier. So next, between weeks 7 and 9. This is a really important stage because this is when the Vacoped boot can increase the range of movement towards a neutral foot position, but as a result, this is when the Achilles tendon starts to increase its stretch, and therefore the risk of re-rupture is high whilst that tendon is still trying to heal. So therefore, we can start to encourage the patient to come out of their boot once a day to do range of movement exercises including active plantar flexion, active inversion, and active eversion. However, we can also start to encourage active dorsiflexion, but only from that 30 degrees to neutral foot position. They shouldn't be allowed to go any further because of the risk of re-rupture. So this really needs to be communicated with your patient. Of course, if your patient does have the boot on, then they can start to move between dorsiflexion and plantar flexion as they can, because the Vacoped boot will restrict them beyond that neutral position. So at week 9, this is where the patient can start coming out of the boot at home, but I would still recommend that you do your exercises within that neutral to 30-degree plantar flex position without going beyond the horizontal. So therefore, your patient might be able to do active range of movements as they can more freely, and they could also start early resistance band movements in terms of plantar flexion to try and get the strength of the calf muscle coming back a little bit more. So at some point between weeks 10 and 12, your patient will hopefully go back to see their orthopedic surgeon for a decision on whether the boot can be removed and whether or not they can continue physiotherapy more intensely. Now, of course, there are so many lower limb exercises that we can give our patients, from squats to leg presses, from bridges to leg extensions. But one of the key things you'll probably think about is a heel raise movement or a calf raise movement, because of course that's really going to get that calf complex and that Achilles tendon rehabbing well. So I might go through a general progression with my patient, starting with sitting heel raises, gradually progressing on to double leg standing heel raises. From there, progressing onto double leg heel raises, but with a bias towards the affected leg, and eventually getting on to single leg heel raises. But there's so much more to think about, much more time than we have for in one video. For example, when does your patient return to sport? What kind of tests can you use to get them back there? When should you start plyometric training? There's so much to cover, and we've got a brilliant webinar for you if you want to dive into this in more detail. It's called Achilles Tendon, Tears and Tendinopathies, link in the description below. It's well worth it for going through all the major things for your patient to get back to their recovery. So guys, I really hope this video has helped you. If it has, please support us by smashing that like button, subscribe to the channel for all our best updates, and remember, we've got loads more information on our Instagram account @clinicalphysio and on our website clinicalphysio.com. My name's Khalid, thank you so much for watching, see you soon here on Clinical Physio.